So what we're doing when we're doing this is we're going to use this particular program to allow us to do that. So if I've got my grade point average data, let's say I've done a sample. Now, the other thing that we'll be looking at is showing that we can do samples. So we can do a systematic sample, maybe take every 10th kid. We could do a random sample, or we could do a stratified sample. Okay, with that, remember we're looking at different groups. Depending on your data, you might do a sample, you might not do a sample. But over here, if I just look at the attendance rates for these students, or the GPA, so let's just do the GPA, grade point average distribution. I'm just going to collect some data. You can just do the same thing, copy that, and then all I do is go to my box and whisker plot, and I just paste that into that table. Okay, this data here, it's got more data there. If I just delete that, highlight it and delete it, then what I will get is a box and whisker plot for all my gear there. So you can see my box and whisker plot is for that data there. Okay, now the best thing I reckon you can do for actually putting this into a Word document, again, is doing a print screen, opening up your Word document, and then pasting it in. Alright, so that will be in there. Now you don't really need that raw data, so what you can do is just crop it, and I think most of you are getting better at using your computer to do that. Alright, so all I'm really interested in is my table and my box and whisker plot there. So that's what I've got there, and if I make it tight, then I can move it wherever I like inside the document. Okay, so if you do your text wrap and make it tight, you can move that around, and if you want to make it bigger, you can make it bigger so it stands out. So that is the first way of displaying your data that I think is worthwhile doing. Box and whisker plot, even if you're going to do a histogram or doing normal distribution stuff or anything like that, I still think it's worthwhile presenting that in a range of ways. Now, you might have your data in a stem and leaf plot, okay, and then you display also in a stem and leaf plot, you display in a box and whisker plot as well. So you want to do multiple representations of the data that you collect. Does that make sense? Multiple representations. Now, the other thing that I might have in here, if I just go to my GPA, let's say this is the data that I'm looking at. That's my data that I'm looking at. And I want to see if there's a correlation for that data. I want to see if there's a correlation. So to do your graphs now, it's really simple. You go up to insert, you go to scatter graph, and that will insert the information. Okay, now if you're here, if you click on that, that will allow you to put a chart table, like label your chart. So it might be, this is what we did the other day. I'm just going through this again. So this might be boys, year 10. Or year 10 boys, okay? So year 10, and it might be year 10 boys. And then over here, this is their, what would this be? This would be the GPA. And this would be the attendance. And I won't do that because I'll just get through. Now, the thing that we want to look at for this is there a correlation between the two values? Okay, so if you click on the data, like, see it's highlighted? You can see it's highlighted there. If I now right click on my mouse, I can add a trend line. Displaying my equation, and I'm only going to be looking at a linear equation. And if I display my R squared value, that's what your calculator does for you normally. I don't really like having seen those. I don't need those unless you've got more than one set of data on there. But that now gives you your equation of the line that's the best fit there, and tells you that you've got an R squared value of 0.04. So if I was making an argument now, I would know 0.04 R squared value is pretty well no correlation. There's no correlation in that set of data between the GPA and the attendance. Does that make sense? Alright, So if this was the investigation you were going to do, you would be not just looking, you'd have to do a random sample of the group. The fact that you have a Excel spreadsheet, the fact that you've got an Excel spreadsheet and you could put all the data in a list, so you could have like 150 kids in year 10, you could do a scatter graph for all of the year 10s. And then you could also compare and see if a sample of a certain size matches that sort of correlation. Because you know the idea of, it's annoying if I have to go and find all that information for 150 kids, if I could just do it for 30 kids and get the same sort of result and make the same sort of inferences from that. Alright? Again, once you've got that, just copy that. This one's probably easier to go copy and then paste that into your thing over there. Alright? So if you copy and paste that in, and then you can sort of move that around as you need to. Alright, so that's a really nice way of displaying information. You can obviously colour code it and all that sort of stuff if you want to do that. Play around with that. Alright, so that's one way of getting data. The other way I want to show you, if you go to Australian Bureau of Statistics, abs.gov.au. So Bureau Stats. Right. Now if you go to education, so at the top there's a bar education, and then so Bureau Stats, education, there's a thing called the random sampler. Okay, random sampler, and we just say yes, we'll accept that. And what we do here, we don't need to do the survey, we just want to use the Census Online page. So, sorry, I want to go to the Census Online page and I want to...
Hold up, hang on. How did you get... Once you're on the education page, what did you go into?
Alright, so we want to... Random sampler. Like, where am I going? I'm in the wrong spot here. So that's what I want to go to, my random sampler. And then I want to accept that. And now this is my information I'm going to set up on here. So I can set the school year. So if I want to compare, say, years, okay, I can get some data from, say, year 2009, and I can compare that with data from 2013. So if I go to this year's data, so the school year, you select the school year you want. You can select, I would suggest that you choose all categories. Just get all the data and you can do that. Sample size that you want. Now I'm thinking if you're going to do a sample size here, you know, because it's all going to be on Excel anyway, maybe do a sample size of 100. Okay? So postcodes. Now if you want to, you could just do South Australia. I'm going to do all postcodes. You can select all states, or so select how many states that you want to include. I want to include all the states, and then I want to, so you might do a project where you want to compare how South Australian kids compare to Australia, or how does South Australia compare to New South Wales, right? So the sky's the limit really with what you do there. You can choose it for male or female, or you can choose it for all. I'm just going to do a gender one here, and then what you do once you've set all your criteria, you go get sample. You say get sample. It will go to a massive database. Alright, so you have to go back and put all your information. Now, if I click on my CAS CXL file, XLS file, that is a Excel file. Okay, so it will bring in lots of information about, and you need to enable editing. Now there is, if you want to do this one here, I can get you a database of all the questions. Alright, a sheet which has got all the questions on it. Now you might look at the heights of all students. Okay, here's the heights of all my students in this survey. Okay, so I've got all of these things going down here. Right. Now, if I want to do things like work out what the mean of that sample is, what would I do? Well, Excel, yours will be different from my sample, and the next time I do this sample, it will be different again and different again. That's the idea of doing a sample, is you're going to get different results. Alright, let's just quickly get through this so we can get you onto doing your own thing. Now, when you put a formula in Excel, what you need to do is you need to type equals where you want to put the formula. Now, another word for the mean is the average. So if we type in start typing average, so you come up with this thing over here. Alright, so I want to do the average of the heights. Okay, so if I do the average and then enter, it works out my average height. Bob. Now what's the other thing we want to know? We want to know the standard deviation, didn't we? So if we go equals standard deviation, and then I highlight my cells again that I want to actually find the standard deviation for, enter, it actually works out the standard deviation for that. So that's data I can copy and paste and all that sort of stuff into Excel, and then I can actually put that maybe into a table with gear.
Before you tell us all this in most, so let's say that.
Yeah.
Should we find out what data we want and then
Yeah, exactly. You're spot on, but I'm just giving you some ideas about the sort of data you collected. Yeah, Hayley, I'm taping you so you can watch this again. And the other thing is, I showed the other day another sample of, we talked about an example of maybe doing football stats. Okay, so I will talk to you individually about that afterwards. I'm just doing a general presentation now. Sorry? There is a sheet thing. I've got a whole heap of sheets there for you that I'm going to go through. So just bear with us. Okay. So the thing is, with this, Hayley, just contain yourself. What we're doing here is we've got an idea of using a sample to get a whole range of different things. And this survey's got lots of data about school kids. It's got data about height, reactions, how many hours they work, what sort of things they watch on TV, how many hours they spend on the internet, and all that sort of gear. And it's post-coded. It's you guys are basically in schools doing this survey. All right. So this might be something that you want to include in your project, okay, in your investigation. And the idea is what you're going to do is come up with a number of questions that you'd like to answer. And you're going to use statistics to find the answer. Girls, just pay attention, please. Right, so you're going to find the answer using your statistics, and you're going to make some inferences about that. Now, the key thing is, if I'm doing that, I'm needing to look at showing off that I can do the mathematics. Remember your investigation's about showing off. It's time to say, geez, I'm good at doing maths, I can do all these things and I understand it. Does that make sense? Shh. Can you just let me get through what I'm doing, and then I'll go through and show you where to get the gear is. Alright, so that's what I want to show off, generally those things. Those things are generally what I'm going to be testing that you can do in your test as well. That's really our stats course. Alright, so keep in mind, that's what we're looking at over there. I'll do everything.